Hi YouTubers, what we are going to do today is we are going to emboss on the Silhouette Cameo using some glue pens and some sketch files. So traditionally embossing is done with stamps and you have to buy the stamps and they can be expensive and you're kind of limited to whatever the stamps are. The cool thing about this is that you aren't anymore. You can use whatever sketch files you can find or whatever sketch fonts you can to have it write out and say anything that you want it to say. So it isn't quite as perfect as using the stamps is. If you look really closely, you can see it's got a bit more of a pitted look as opposed to the really smooth consistency of doing it a more traditional way. But it's probably a fair trade-off for having so many more different options than just the traditional stamps. Because you can really have it say whatever you want it to say. So let me go show you what you need. Alright, so we're going to be using these Quickie glue pens. They're basically ballpoint pens that have glue that comes out instead of ink. They come on blue and then they dry clear. And that is what we'll be using to draw with. Now I like this metallic paper. I think it's got a sheen on it and it's not as porous as like standard cardstock. And I think it gives you a much cleaner embossing rather than just this traditional cardstock. And what I mean by that is when you sprinkle on your powder, sometimes it sticks to places you don't have glue and will emboss itself without glue, like magic. And see, on the traditional cardstock, you've got some around the T and just some not so clean areas. With the metallic paper, you just get a much cleaner emboss. Okay, I touched the A right there. You just get a much cleaner product. So either you can use the metallic paper or you can use traditional paper and get a paintbrush, and then anywhere that before you heat set it, make sure you brush off any of the loose powder. Don't brush off your design, but any loose powder you would need to brush off so it doesn't emboss. So paper, your good old heat gun. This is just a standard one from Amazon, nothing special. Any of the embossing powders, I tend to like the Ranger embossing powders, and I have had much better luck with the copper and the gold. I tried this black one and it looked bad. It looked really bad. I don't know, but I've always tended to like these and seem to get better results with these, so I don't know if it's just me or if I don't know. But I always do better with the copper and the gold than the black or any of the colored ones. And then I got this. I don't actually really know what its name is. It's this thingy. And what it does is it helps produce a cleaner emboss. It's got baby powder in it and you just wipe it on before you put the glue pen down and it provides a cleaner emboss. You don't have to have it. It does make it look nicer, but it's not necessary. You can clean everything off with a paintbrush, but I ain't got the patience for that at all. So you might want it, you might not. You need a piece of paper to catch your embossing powder. And I've been using the Chomas marker holder for my sketch pen holder. And then let me briefly explain why we're using the Curio and not the Cameo. See, this is my Silhouette Cameo 2 covered in gold rhinestones. The reason that we're not using the Cameo is because of these little metal things. I'm not sure what they're for, but what they do is they end up tracking through the glue and getting in the way and making it all muddy and getting everywhere. So if you do want to do this technique, you can on the Cameo, but you need to sit your design between here and here. I'm not entirely sure where that is, but that's as big as your design could be. The reason that that's the reason I decided to do it on the Cameo or on the Curio was because there's no metal bars. You have a much higher clearance and it's a much cleaner clearance. There's no little metal springs in the way. So that's why we're doing this on the Curio. Alright, so what a sketch file is it's one that's just a single line So see, there's just a single line here. If I were to go and type an A with Arial, see now I have an outline. That's not what I want. So these have to be specially made. This one is mine. Mine are available up on Sofancy. The black ones are all mine. This isn't a sketch file, it's in the wrong category. But these are all meant to be drawn. They're all meant to be drawn. So they've been designed for it. You can also, there's a handful of sketch fonts that you can type like Arial. I just typed a minute ago. So one of those is Skinny Jeans, which is mine. And see, instead of having the outline, we will have, there we go. It turns it all into a single line. And the reason I really like this is that it just gives you so many more opportunities than just little stamps that you can buy. So it really opens up the door. So we are going to do this You Are Invited sketch today. And right now I'm working on the little base. There's also a bigger base. So if you wanted to, you could do this on a very big piece of paper as well if you wanted to. But we're just doing this on the little one for the sake of demonstrations. And if you have a Curio, all you need to do is plug it in and turn it on. And it should come up as the default. If you don't, you may need to go change things in the page setup. So see, it says automatic Curio and automatic Curio cut. If you get boxes or things are in the wrong spot, that's what's up. And you may also just need to make a new one, make a new document a couple of times for it to figure out that you've got the Curio connected. Because it should pull up this thing that says Curio if it's going to send it to the Curio. Also, I have Business Edition. So if you have Business Edition, down here at the bottom, there's all the machines, and none of mine are connected right now. But it needs to be your default one. See with the little green check mark? If it's not, none of this will pull up. You can right click and set its default cutter, and then that will, that's how you get it to be the default cutter. And I've not had good luck with trying to run a Curio and a Cameo at the same time. It just seems to end up causing trouble. I'm not sure if it's me, but so I would just recommend running the Curio by itself. But what we're going to do is we're going to hook up the Curio. Now I already have the cut lines turned on for this, so if you didn't, you would just select your file and then hit sketch. Well, actually, so if I had something, let's see, if I had craft foam. All right, if I have craft foam selected, it's only going to give me all the cut options. So if I go to, I need to go to cardstock. It doesn't really actually matter which one. Cardstock, and then go down here to sketch. And that's how I get it to sketch instead of trying to cut. And to turn on your lines, you would just click it and then click sketch. Now, the default speed is 10, and I've dropped the force all the way down to 1. If the force is too heavy, what happens is it digs in and you end up with 2 lines instead of 1 single line. And we're going to end up doing 2 passes, but we're going to do 1 pass, clean the pen off, and then do a second pass. And that's what we're going to do. Let me go show you how to set up the bases real quick. Alright, so this is a little base for the Curio. Now, the deal with the Curio is it wants to cut things that are 5 millimeters tall. And if it's not 5 millimeters tall, they have these platforms that make it 5 millimeters tall. And we're just going to use the 2 and the 2. See the numbers on the side, so the 2 and the 2. And then this is just a cut mat, the regular cutting mat on top. And then you just put it on your base. And then make sure all your little tabs are locked down in place. Now, my poor little mat is a very well-loved mat at this point. Generally, well-loved mats do better with paper than brand new ones. So, might want to have a more loved mat. But this is just the paper, and we're just going to stick it down. Not scientific. Now, the Curio can also cut paper as well. So you could have it do something, emboss something, and then have it cut it out as well if you wanted to. I'm just going to show you the embossing technique today. Alright, so the Curio is going to blink at you, the power light is, until you load the bases. This is the load bases button. So what I'm going to do is push my bases all the way in. And then I'm going to hit that double arrow button. And then my bases are loaded. So I'm going to take my little popsicle stick from my my marker holder and put him in and turn. Now, take your glue pen and make sure that it's working. Okay, and we're going to drop it in. It's going to touch your popsicle stick. You're going to screw it tight. Now you need to babysit this thing because the glue needs to come out sort of blue. It'll turn out blue and then dry. If it doesn't, double check that your pen isn't kind of clogged up. So now we are going to hit send. See, sort of blue, sort of blue. All right, so it's done its first pass, and what I like to do is put your popsicle stick back here. Be careful not to touch any of the glue on your paper. And then clean off your pen, and then clean off your pen. It kind of gets a bit goopy after doing this. And I'm sure like short words tend to work better than like big long words. But, and then just put it back in and make sure you tighten it. And then you're just gonna basically do the same job all over again. So it'll have 2 passes. Alright, so I just removed it from the Curio. I don't know if you can kind of see it. There you go. And so what we're gonna do now is sprinkle our embossing powder on top. So if there's any places where you have like extra powder like this, you can just brush it off. Don't brush off anywhere it's set, but anywhere that you want it to be, but you can brush off anything that's extra. And then what you're going to do is put your extra embossing powder back in your little container. Alright, so now we're going to heat press this. Alright, so now we're going to heat set this with our gun. Now, we're not blow drying hair. You don't want to like do the whole whirly thing. You kind of want to set it in one place and wait for it to set and then do the rest slowly. Also, don't like just stick it in one place because you can like scorch it and make it look weird. Okay, so I totally forgot to show you all this stuff. So before you put it through the Curio, if you want to do this, all you do is you just take off the top. All you do is you take off the top and then you just rub it on. That's all there is to it. And it helps keeps a lot of the extra dust down. It's baby powder. So, sorry. It's late. But anywho, that's how you do it. It's so cool to watch that embossing powder. I always enjoy it, even though I'm not much of a paper crafter. Watching that embossing powder pop up is so cool. But I hope you enjoyed. It's something kind of cool, a little different to do. And it's really cool to be able to personalize something without having to rely on what you can find out there. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And please like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching.